Welcome to our daily Bible study. I am your host teacher, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and we're going to continue on in our 16th series entitled Mental Burnout. Today's lesson will deal with preventing burnout. Let's dive right in. We have a lot to unpack at this time. Isaiah 26:3, Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Let's dive right in. Again, as I said, we have so much to unpack. Now, remember that burnout comes from a very specific terminology that deals with the destruction or the use of fire or energy to destroy something or to render it unusable because it's been overworked through an extended period of time. Burnout, then, is when the pressure of life or the pressure that comes to you as it relates to our minds and our mental health or the health of our soul, then it deals with the pressure that is placed upon us where we are functioning under some extreme conditions. And the pressure, because it's been a consistent, extended time, we literally start wearing down. We become tired. And what this means in the mind, it's not that the emotions don't continue to operate in you and that they don't continue to allow you to feel. But what happens is the mind, or the volitional part of the mind, it gets to the point where everything you feel, you no longer desire to respond to it or to feel it. You no longer desire to think about complications or solving complicated problems. And so what transpires, you literally disengage. Through the power of your will, you stop desiring to feel, to respond, to have hope, and in many cases, to even think. You're so tired that you no longer want to face everyday situations that typically you can face and will face. And so what transpires then, it means that we have been operating within the power of our humanity, and we have overextended ourselves into an arena where we no longer can function, and to do so could cause serious, irreparable damage to our mind, to our emotion. The human mind has a limit on how far it can experience trauma. The human mind has a limit on how much it can learn, how much it can consistently think before a fog sets in and it becomes difficult in expressing those thoughts. And specifically when we're not tired, we think better. Our mind responds quicker. But then when there is a state of exhaustion that comes, there's like a brain fog. The mind slows down. Even the apparatuses in the brain are sluggish because they're overworked. Always remember that you are a material, organic, living machine. Your brain, your body, the responses that come from the neural networks, from the very nervous systems, again, the central nervous, the peripheral, and then also the vagus nerve that comes from the gut that leads to the very brain itself. And so burnout then is consistent and non-stopping functionality where you can function no more. You're literally tired. You're literally exhausted. And so he says, thou, or God, will keep him in perfect peace. And this is the promise that he gives to us if we will do specific things. Hear the word keep. It's a very powerful word if we can understand it and grab it and lay hold on it as a promise that God has given. It's the word natsar. And the Hebrew word natsar in the ancient Hebrew, it has several pictograms. One deals with a branch, and the other deals with something that talks about preservation or keeping. And so literally in the ancient text of the Shemitic Hebrew, the word literally meant to preserve the branch. And so it deals with to watch over or guard in order to preserve. Keep, preserve, be as a watchman, and also to keep from being besieged. And if we were to go down a little further, brown, driver, and break simply means simply define it as to guard, watch over, or keep, to preserve, to observe for the purpose of keeping safe. And then as we go a little further, it comes from a primitive root, means to guard in a good sense, to protect, maintain, to keep from being besieged because it is hidden. And so it speaks of God hiding us in his pavilion. And then finally, it has meaning as a verb, to guard, to keep, to observe, to preserve, or to hide. The word refers to people's maintaining things entrusted to them, especially to keeping the truths of God in both actions and in mind. And so here we look at the text, and the text says, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace. Very interesting, because perfect means, when we look at the peace part of it, shalom, completeness or soundness, completeness in number, in body. So it speaks of the welfare, the health, the tranquility, and the contentment. And when we break it down just a little further, when he talks about keeping in perfect peace, shalom always deals with the totality of an individual. Peace of his soul, which is the thoughts and the components of those thoughts. So we're speaking of components of peace for the emotion, for the volition, and for the analytical part. Peace of the body, keeping the body whole, keeping you from your enemies and the enemies at bay. Therefore you have peace and no contention, and also peace from the sense that all of your reservoirs and everything you need is also significantly taken care of. And so perfect peace. And it's very interesting, because when we look at it again, the term perfect peace is literally shalom, in peace, or double connotative peace, double portioned peace. And so he's talking about, I will keep you in double portioned peace of mind, which means emotions, again, analytical, and the will of your body. I will keep you in a double amount of peace, as it refers to not letting your enemy trouble you, and also your provisions. And this is the key. We have to operate in our humanity, but what we have to also remember is that we have to depend on God. Christ said, I will be with you. I will be with you and walk with you until the end of the day. I will never leave you. When the age is over, I'll still be with you, because he's preparing us and about to present us before his throne. And then he says, whose mind. He uses the Hebrew terminology for mind, yetzer, the form or the framing, the purpose or the framework. And so it speaks of the imagination. It speaks of the mind portion, that is the conceptualizational process and power that builds the mental framework or the imagination that produces what we call vision and the imagery to see. I will keep you whose yetzer, the formational part of the mind, is stayed on me, because there is a limited amount of consistent trust he uses the word batak, which means to trust in, to have confidence, to be confident, to be bold in your confidence, to be secure because of your trusting, to hide for refuge, but not so precipitatedly that we're fearful, but it is that we're trusting in God, and so we run into his pavilion to be safe. I thank you for joining us. Remember, burnout can be prevented by trusting in God, by not going above and beyond where God has limited you, by not operating in your strength. We have to depend on God for everything. I thank you for joining us. This has been our daily Bible study, and I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Raves. Until next time, God bless.